Hello, Floss Tube. Welcome to Stitch and Crime. I'm Stasha, and it's been a while. September was a rather busy month, so I didn't really have a lot of time I had time to stitch, and I had time to research. I just didn't make time to film. So anyway, a lot of stuff. We're going to cover 2 months. We're in the new location for filming. And let's get started. This one's going to be a long one, guys. So grab a beverage, grab your stitching, put me on double speed if you want, and let's go. So, starting with stitching, and then we'll move on to the crime. And I am moving some of my snacks because I have snacks today. Stats for September. I worked on 7 projects. I had 1 finish. I put in, sorry, I got to use these. Okay, with a new setup, I've got new lights, and it drives me absolutely batty when people have ring lights on their glasses, and that's all you see. You can't see their eyes. All you see is the ring lights. So my regular glasses, the new ring light shows up in those, so we just won't wear those, and if I have to read something, I will put on my readers. So, September statistics. September was a really low stitching month. I only had 6,665 stitches. That was over 7 projects, and that included a retreat stitching. So, the average for the month was 222 stitches. The median was 160. So that, those of you that are stats nerds like I am, kind of tells you a little bit where things were. My maximum day was 720, and I had over 5 days with absolutely no stitching at all. The big things were Hometown Holiday, where I finished Mercantile. This is the 12th finish for the Hometown Holiday series. I am not going to get through all 25 this year. I decided it was more important to get through 10% of all of my whips than it was to get all 25 of the Hometown Holidays done. And you know what? Honestly, in July, I was kind of burning out on them a little bit as well. So stats have put 2,633 stitches into Hometown Holiday during September. And that was both the Mercantile, and I started the Town Church, and I also worked on Town Church in October. I put 507 stitches into this, and you can see I have not gotten a lot done. I have not done a lot on this since early in this month because I'm trying to get through all of my whips, trying to get 10%. If I get 10% on all of my whips done, it'll only take 10 years to finish, right? No whip should go over 10 years. And let's face it, I have some whips that are old enough to move out on their own. So, Hometown Holiday was my Mercantile for Hometown Holiday was my September finish. I worked on Alice in Wonderland, Summer Queen, Tonight We Ride, Jack Frost, Spiral, and There Is Room. We'll go over all of these and show. I'm just going through the stats right now. So it is October 29th. Tomorrow I fly out to Denver to get my car, and we'll talk about that when I talk about what happened at Crazy Woman. I am wearing my Crazy Woman Last Rodeo. Many of you may have heard that Misty has decided that she is not going to hold the Casper, Wyoming retreat anymore. And in fact, she has an opportunity to travel and really see the world, which that's so cool. That is so cool. If you can go travel, go travel. And I am so happy for her and so glad that she's going to get to do all the things that she wants to go do and is in a position to do so. So I'm probably not going to get any stitching in tomorrow or Friday, which is Halloween. So we're going to count the month done. So for October, I got 10,351 stitches in. The average was 357. I worked on 9 different projects. My max stitches was 805. Minimum stitches, I had a couple days where there was no stitching, and tomorrow and Friday will be no stitching as well. And the median is 305. So median's a little bit closer to the average there, which tells you I was fairly consistent during the month. So what we did work on, the 9 projects: Hometown Holiday, Town Church. I put 1,025 stitches into my Haid, which is Secret Carousel, and that's actually kind of too big to bring in here, so I'll put a picture of it at the end. Alice in Wonderland, my Alice in Wonderland, not Robin's Alice in Wonderland. We'll talk about Robin's Alice in Wonderland in a little bit. I put 1,281 stitches into Main Street, which is one of my really old WIPs. 1,800 stitches into Summer Queen. 803 into Wild Hunt. And some of that was even back stitching. 1,468 into Jack Frost Tree Farm. 372 into There Is Room. And some of these numbers are a little low and a little odd. Remember, I'm trying to hit that 10%. So it's like when I hit the 10%, I put it up and say, okay, see you again in 2026. And I'm working towards getting some of these big numbers down and getting things done. You'll notice I haven't worked on my Teresa Wenslers. I'm going to have to really buckle down on that in November and December. I did not get the 1,000 stitches for Fortunate Traveler or Summer Carousel Horse, which both of those whip goes have been called, and I have not managed to. Those are the 2 whip go squares that I have not managed to finish yet. But hey, November and December, got time off work. Those are not in the room I usually stitch in, so I'll go do those and go work in that room. Put on music, put on an audiobook. There's no TV in the room where those are, so nobody else goes in that room but me, so it's kind of hard to be part of the family and be in that room. But I just gotta make space or else I'm never gonna get done. Goblin Market. I did 2,415 stitches in Goblin Market, and Goblin Market is finished. So let's start with finishes. I already showed you Mercantile. Here is Goblin Market. This is done mainly with the called for DMC. There were some modifications. I decided to stitch the letters in green instead of blue. It just seemed more goblin-y to do it in green. I want to say this is a piece of Picture This Plus. I started this so long ago, I don't remember what fabric I'm using. I'm pretty sure it's a Picture This Plus though, because back when I started this, they were pretty much the only dyer I knew of at that time. So the pattern is by Counted Illuminations. It was originally published in 1990, and it's a quote from Christina Rossetti, the book The Goblin Market. And the Pre-Raphaelites was one of the eras and artists that I studied when I was in college. So when I first saw that in 1990, it was close enough to when I had graduated from college that it was like, oh, this is so cool. I really love Christina Rossetti. So I bought it. And it wasn't until the early 2000s that I actually got around to starting it. Actually, give me a second, I'll tell you when I actually started it. I started it in September of 2020. So I had the pattern for 30 years before starting it. That's kind of sad. But That's what stash is for. You fall in love with it, you fall out of love with it, you fall in love with it, you work on it. Sometimes you finish it. I definitely finished that. I have been debating whether to take that one up to Jill Rensel or just have it framed locally, because the stitching on this is just, there's a cobweb. See the spider? There's a cobweb that goes all over behind the letters. And as you can see from the Jill Rensel behind me, her frames definitely add to the stitching, but I'm just wondering if I want to go plain with that one or do I want to take it up to Jill's. Right now, Rensel, the last time I dropped anything off to Jill Rensel and Rensel Studios, I was told it would be around 26 to 28 months. Now, it used to be when I dropped things off, it'd be 6 to 8 months. So they are now at 24 to 26 months. So, and okay, that was the last time I dropped something off, which was 3 or 4 months ago. They could be even more than that. So it'll be interesting to see what it is when I drop it off. Okay, other pieces I worked on. We talked about There's Room at the Table. This is Live and Die LA's I forget what the name of the fiber is. I want to say it's Taste the Rainbow. I knew it had something to do with Skittles. So this is Live and Die LA's Taste the Rainbow thread with black DMC. And what I've done is I am doing this pattern for my middle child's house. So there is room at the table for everyone. But let's face it, I am not fond of Quaker motifs. I really am not. So I was looking at all the little Quaker motifs on this, and I stitched a few of them as like, this will never get done if I have to stitch Quaker motifs. So I found this, and I will probably end up stitching this one too. But this is from Rack and Pinion on Etsy. Crying is a Free Action. It was only like a $2 chart, guys. So I'm taking the dice from Crying is a Free Action, and you can see the D20 up there. And then I'll put 2 more dice on there. When my middle child and I were discussing it, we decided that we are going to keep the crows in the corner, except for they're going to get stitched in black. And then, I'm trying to show this one. The crows will get stitched in black, so that Quaker motif will stay. But the butterfly and the flowers at the bottom and the flower in the middle there, those are all going to get replaced with dice. So, and as soon as I'm done, Melissa, I will send you the pattern. The other thing I worked on in Casper was Spiral. And I put 160 stitches on this. And that's about all I could focus on it. And also 160 was all I needed to finish the 10% for the year. But this one stitches up so easy. I may end up finishing it in January or February of next year. I've been thinking about, so this year I cut down to 25 whips. And I've been thinking more and more about, let's face it, I will never be a one at a time stitcher. ADHD, not going to happen. But the more I think about it, the more I think, if I just had like one project a month or worked on two projects a month. None of this swapping every 5 minutes, because it gets to be just too much. And if I just took one project a month and just really focused on it, how much could I really get done on it? That's kind of where I'm leaning for next year. I've really gotten a lot done with WhipGo, so I'm thinking what I may do next year with WhipGo is just, those are the 2 projects I work on for the month, is whatever the WhipGo numbers are. I heard that Jessie Marie has a new game going, and I don't know. I haven't looked into it. I haven't heard anything about it other than Sarah in our Stitching Kingdom mentioned it in her floss tube, and that's where we are. I may go look it up. So you mentioned that I put in time on Summer Queen. This is Mirabilia's Summer Queen. I put in 500 stitches in Casper and 1,800 stitches in October, which completed my 10% on her for the year. Again, she's getting really close. We're starting to touch skin. That's that lower hand, and then still have dress, cloak, and then we have the upper body to work on. But she's done for this year. September WhipGo was Tonight We Ride. I have finished page 1 and page 3. This was in the Autumn Lane Stitchery Halloween box. It's Bestitched Me Pumpkin and DMC thread, with the exception of I am using the glow-in-the-dark Krynic for the moon. So the white in the moon is glow-in-the-dark. So the moon will glow. But 10% will probably finish either page 3 or either page 2 or page 4 next year. But, honestly, a good solid month of stitching on that, or even 2 solid weeks of stitching on it, would probably finish it. I have over 900 whips. I have over 900 patterns. I have 25 whips. But I have over 900 patterns in my inventory list. And it's like, okay, I'm obviously not going to get to all of them in my lifetime. But it would be so cool to get to the point where I could work on something and finish it, work on something and finish it. And I'm kind of getting to that point where I just want to finish everything I've got. And then I'll start something new. So Wild Hunt. So Wild Hunt is one of my 3 carousels. 3 kids, 3 carousels, carousel horse. Eventually, I want to start putting, the Christmas one is going to have to find someplace else to live. But I want to start putting like different carousel pictures behind here. And she's still wearing her August headdress. I've got a fall leaf headdress for September and a Halloween headdress for October. Like I said, life's been crazy. I have not had time to change the horse's headdress. I may end up putting the fall leaf headdress up for Thanksgiving. But I am doing the back stitching on Wild Hunt on page, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so I'm doing the back stitching on page 6. And I'm pretty sure that page 3 is finished. But as soon as I finish the back stitching on page 6, that will be finished, and then we'll move down to page 9. I still have another about 1,500 stitches left to finish my 10% on this for the year. So I'm pretty sure that will finish up page 6, and I'll work down into page 9. Okay, next up is Jack Frost's Tree Farm. This is on a mystery blue fabric that I got from Stitchery Express. This is that fabric that white disappears on. I'm stitching this over one with Classic Colorworks. And the center section, the tree farm, that says Jack Frost Tree Farm, is finished. The Cocoa Shack is finished. Balsam is finished. We're working on the people around the tree. And then the other trees will be up top, and I forget what the 7th pattern is. But Jack Frost Tree Farm, I've finished the 10% for this year on it. And if I finish the 10% on everything, it may get more time in December. Okay, home to Main Street. I want to see when I started this one. Okay, so this is Main Street. Main Street was a series of 5 buildings. Yes. Maybe 4. It's either 4 or 5 buildings that was published in Just Cross Stitch in 2011. And in the 80s, Just Cross Stitch published another street scene like this called The Button Vendor. And I've had the button vendors hanging in my front room since I finished it when my daughter was just little, and she's in her 30s now. So I did this one to go along with it. Same fabric, just the same white linen. And I finished 2 buildings. And when I started this one this month, the only thing I had on that roof line was the 2 chimneys. So we finished the entire roof and the dormer will. And I think I've got about 1,000 stitches left to put in, which will be about 10 rows. About 11 rows, because each of the rows are about 70 stitches across. So 11, 12 rows we'll finish up for this year on that. Okay, the last piece I worked on, other than my Haid, which I'll put a picture at the end, was Alice in Wonderland. My Alice is stitched with Silks for You 157, and the fabric is Under the Sea Fabrics Fiery Skies. So this is my Alice, and I have finished page 1 and page 2. No, I have finished page 3 and page 4. So page 3 and 4 are complete here, and I'm starting on page 2. So in the Utah stitching community, there is a stitcher called Robin who has end-stage cancer. And at Crazy Woman, she had pieces that she wanted people to stitch and then return to her sister Marla. She is also doing Alice in Wonderland. She has finished page 1. So this is the page that I have not stitched on mine, which works out really well because I'm going to finish her Alice. It is stitched in black anchor. And she's doing hers on a pastel. It's a pale pink. You can see the difference that fabric makes. So, showing you my back. So here we are looking at the Cheshire Cat. Two different colorways. Still basically using a black, but just the difference between the fabrics. And I haven't started working on robins, but I will. I will get there. Okay, that is all the stitching I've done. So let's talk about retreats. I have been to 2 retreats since the last time we talked. I went to Crazy Woman last rodeo in Casper, Wyoming. That was September 11th, 12th, and 13th. And technically the 14th, but I left early morning on the 14th. I was driving into Casper with my daughter-in-law, and we got delayed several times due to road construction and traffic rerouting, and that we ended up driving between Rollins and Casper after dark. And not being familiar with the roads, I didn't realize that we needed to go slower and watch for wildlife. And we ended up hitting a deer. I am very grateful for roadside assistance. However, roadside assistance said the nearest certified dealership for my vehicle was in Lakewood, Colorado. So tomorrow morning, I fly out to Lakewood, Colorado to get my car. And my husband and I will be driving it back, which is why I'm not expecting any additional stitching in October. So, I have also been to Stitch West in October, and everything I have purchased and have as haul has either been the freebie table, gifts, or purchases at these 2 retreats. So we're going to go through everything I got at the retreats, but I'm going to grab a drink first. We're going to start actually with the Drunctopus. If you'll notice, this octopus is guarding my drink. Stephanie at our table at Stitch West made these for us. I got there before Kara did, which is kind of sad because Kara was picking up a drink for me from Swig. But I was there first, so I got the purple one. So this is my Drunctopus, who needs a name. Several of us had our octopuses sitting around our drinks, so they became the Drunctopi because they were drinking the drinks. None of us had alcohol in our drinks. At least I don't believe any of us had alcohol in our drinks. But this is my Drunctopi. Well, since he's alone, the Drunctopus. And if you would like to leave me a name for my Drunctopus, please feel free to leave it in the comments. So anyway, here's my Drunctopi. And he lives on my drink. And he sits on the mug mat that I got. I don't remember if that was at Cindy's retreat or at Stitch West in April. Anyway, somebody gave me that really cool mug mat, and I take it to all my retreats with me now. Okay. Things that also happened during September. I worked at FanX. And that could be either Ms. Bates or MS Bates, which are my initials. But I was working the sales desk for David Tennant and the sales desk for she's married to Ian Somerhalder. She was in Twilight. Anyway, that's what I did at FanX. And because she left early, that meant that I had the opportunity to go visit Creators Row, and I got a book. This is the last book that E.M. Leander had with her of the first of her series. And I have not read it yet, but the bookmark was kind of cool too. And I don't know, maybe I'll take that on the flight with me tomorrow. It's kind of heavy though. Okay, so that was Fan X, which was the latter half of September. The other thing I'm going to mention is that last year in Casper, I got, I don't know. Anyway, at a retreat, I got part 1 of this sampler, and I thought, oh, this is so cool. I would love to get all of it. And Lee, who we met last year at Casper, said, I think I have that. And she was right, she did. So she sent me this part 2 of the sampler. So now I have part 1 and part 2 and can finish it. And I kind of want to finish one more big project before I start that, but I am starting to kit it up. Okay, also from Stitch West, no. We'll start with Casper. So at Casper, this was a table gift. Cute little scissor fob or zipper bell pull. You will not lose your project bag with that, just your zipper pull. Matching counting pins to go with that pull, along with a scissor fob. And another counting pin. At our table, we had a woman from Canada who had just come from Colorado Crime Con, and being that this is Stitch and Crime, it was only appropriate that I got her True Crime bell pull, True Crime scissor pull, zipper pull. It's a zipper pull or a scissor fob, but it's a True Crime one. And there was also, Megan Bangeter had a booth where you could build your own scissor fobs. And I built a penguin one. So here's my purple penguin scissor fob. And a pair of scissors was a table gift from somebody at our table. And I participated in the Smalls Exchange in Casper, and this was my small. And there was also, there was a pair of scissors in it with a scissor fob. Isn't that cool? It's a pair of stork scissors. Being the scissor whore that I am, you know this went over well. But isn't that just the cutest little Halloween ornament? And it is stitched on, not glued on. She did such a really good job of finishing that. And it came in this cute little box that could easily be a sewing box. Okay. Pretty much that was Casper. No. I did get some when I get to the books. I did get some books in Casper, but we'll get to that as we go through the pile. So, Stitch West, I won one of the drawings, so I got this cute little Halloween candle thing. It's an electronic candle. I haven't tried looking at it in the dark, but it flickers a little too. But I thought that was cute. And I also got along with the little Halloween pumpkin thing, there was this pattern for Liberty from With Thy Needle and Thread. So I have With Thy Needle and Thread Liberty, and it came with this cute little Halloween bucket. So the two gifts that Stitch West gave us were a pair of scissors with a scissor fob that says Stitch West on it, and this cute little basket held together by an elastic that has it's just, you could put scissors or your sewing kit, and it's got a ruler on one side and a groove in the other for putting your phone in. Or you could use it to hold your needles or whatever else. So that was the Stitch West gift for going, along with, there's my name tag. Figured if I'm showing the Fanax name tag, I ought to show the Stitch West name tag. And the designer at Stitch West was Tiny Modernist. And I have some Tiny Modernist patterns, but I had never stitched anything by Tiny Modernist. But that was the pattern we got, along with the Stitchy Friends Berry. And they also gave us all the threads to stitch it up with. So all you needed to come up with was the fabric. Well, I happen to have this piece of Picture This Plus fabric left over from when I did Fire Dancer. And I measured it. I measured several times, and it fits. Don't remember if it fits over 1 or over 2, but it fits. And the other thing that we got at Stitch West, oh, this was also part of the drawing prize. It's a beeswax pumpkin. So let me empty this. So Kara gave us these great trays that can also be used as a frame. And you can either frame it this way, or you can pat it and frame it this way. And it was either Lisa or Stephanie figured out that this will fit in this. So I may use this as a frame, or I may continue to use it as a notions box. But that was the pattern at Stitch West. Okay, also at my table was Sarah from Our Stitching Kingdom, and this was her table gift. These cute little bags, and then some stitch hole. You've got either the magnetic or the curly ones to just hold things in place. So that was nice. And then there was a woman who came around and asked, "Are you serious or whimsical?" And I told her I was very serious about being whimsical. So I got a purple dragon, a purple dinosaur, a purple dragon. Serious people were getting things like bobbins, scissors, threads. Whimsical people got dragons and dinosaurs. And then there was a UK stitcher that Sarah knew very well that had made a whole bunch of these. I don't know, they're too small to put on scissors, so I'm thinking they're probably zipper pulls. And she was like, please, take them. I don't want to haul them home. So I got a couple of those. And of course, somebody came around with boo-boo brushes, mascara wands that you use to lift thread off when you unpick things when you're froggy. Somebody had a Halloween ghost sticker. I don't remember if this was Stitch West or Casper, but somebody gave me some button counting pins. Somebody gave us a star detailer. What Are You Doing Studios was selling t-shirts. She has her QR code there if you want to try and read that. She had, she didn't have my size, but I got a t-shirt from her that I'll be wearing on one of my other videos when I film, that says, "Stop, let me overthink this for you." And then Chris Rose was trying to get more people to watch her floss tube. She is Eeyore Rose. Now the fun thing is Sarah's last name is King. And Chris, before she got married, was a queen. Now she is a Queen Rose. But it was fun having the queen and the king at the table for a while. So at my Stitch West table, there was Sarah, Kara. Kara is Kay's Stitching Cave. Oh, Kay in the Cave. I'll link her channel down below. I want to say it's Kay in the Cave or Kay's Cave. It has a K and it has a cave. And she films floss tube a lot more frequently than I do. There was Jennifer, who was new to our table, and she's like, "You guys all seem to know each other." I was like, "Yeah, kind of. We pretty much all from Utah, with the exception of Stephanie, but Stephanie's met Sarah a couple times before, and yeah, but hopefully she felt welcome and and invited and fit in, because she definitely fits into our group of weird. Stephanie was the one that made the drunk to pie, and then next to me was Lisa, and several times we played Lost or Nap. So Lost or Nap is when you're on a retreat and you disappear for a while, and people go, "Oh, are they lost or are they taking a nap?" So that's playing Lost or Nap. So somebody at our table was giving away balls, which I use these in needlepoint, and I also use them for crocheting doilies. So I grabbed 3 of them. And then Jennifer also had made these cute little pin cushions. So I got one of her cute little pin cushions. And this was what Jen gave us. So in her bag, you had some ginger chews, which are great for hot flashes, a pair of scissors, highlighter pen, and snacky grabbers. This is so you do not get your fingers dirty when you grab your snacks. And this is why I had snacks on my table today, so that I could show you how to use the snacky grabbers. So, and then somebody was coming around with measuring tapes, because you never know when you need a measuring tape, especially if you're looking at like project bags or checking your fabric or just being around. Okay, and then somebody else had these cute little passed out these cute little needle books that your scissors fit in the needle book. I want to say this was Jennifer also. I think Jennifer had these as well. Okay, and then Top Knot Stitcher was at Stitch West. And after Kara bought these, let's face it, I am not a Quaker sticker. I am not a Quaker stitcher. But I had to get these quirky Quaker patterns with dinosaurs on them after Kara bought them. And I was thinking, these would be really cute to make as ornaments for my kids. Maybe not this year. Okay, and then I've got I have a case to a pair of scissors. I do not know where the scissors went. They have probably found a home elsewhere. But there's the case for them. I will take it up to my scissor holder. Somebody put this project bag on the rehoming table, and it's kind of got some dents in it, but you know, that's still a nice project bag. That's kind of cool. So I picked that up off the giveaway table. And then remember the heirloom stockings? I don't think I've got the kitchen one, so I picked this up. And then this was on the Stitch West giveaway table. And I thought this would be fun to stitch for Halloween some year. No, this one's not in my pattern inventory yet. I will get there. And then somebody had put an issue, a For Love of Quilting issue, and I thought that was kind of cute. And I was going to thumb through it, but I was spending so much time trying to get Goblin Market finished that I didn't quite get around to thumbing through it. I'm thumbing through it now. There's actually some, oh my gosh. It's got how to do a tied, how to do a table runner out of ties. And somewhere downstairs, I have a bin of my grandfather's old ties. And I wanted to make like a tie quilt or that. So now I have the pattern for how to make a table runner. And then this piece of fabric was on the giveaway table. And at the time I picked it up, I knew exactly what I was going to stitch on it, and now I can't remember what it was. This is why you need to make notes for yourselves, people. And then Kara at our table went ahead and let us look at the stuff she was going to put out on the giveaway table, the freebie table, before she put it out. So I ended up with the Lizzie Kate Holly and Hearts, which I don't have. I have it now. Okay, talk about that. And Lizzie Kate Busy Bee. And this is the full set of the double flips. It's one of the Lizzie Kate double flip Christmas ones with the pattern for doing it all as a single sampler. And then on the freebie table, a Just Nan I didn't have from the heart, a silver linings Christmas rose ornaments that I will stitch sometime. And somebody had put this carousel horse book on the table. And honestly, I don't know if I have this book already, but if I don't, it's got some really cool patterns. And I've got a carousel horse wall to fill. Okay, so Casper. This was the designer in Casper. So I got the buffalo and the ram. And then, as I mentioned earlier, Robin was there. Oh, this was the freebie pattern that they gave us in Casper. This one here. So Robin is in the end stages, and she knew my husband is a Marine. So she gave me several patterns that she thought I might want to stitch up for my husband. And she also gave me a carousel book because she knows I like carousel stuff. And that zebra, oh my gosh, that zebra would be so cool, like right over here by the head or maybe by the tail. But that's one that I want to stitch up. I don't know, maybe that zebra was what I was thinking of when I looked at that. Too busy? Probably too busy. But maybe I was thinking about a carousel horse with that. But there is a different carousel horse per month in this book. So there are 12 carousel horses in it. So I'm very grateful to Robin for giving that to me. And then again, another one of those heirloom stockings that for so long were so hard to find. And this was one I didn't think I'd ever seen before, so I grabbed it. Someday I will get around to stitching stockings. Okay, so in my last video I told you that I was going to go to Anaheim for my birthday. However, with the car accident in September and other stuff that went on, I decided I really am not in a position to fly out to Anaheim in February. So I talked to Valerie at Live and Die LA, and instead of giving me a cash refund, I went shopping with my refund at Stitch West. So I thought those would be the perfect colors to do the dinosaur Quakers in. So I got fibers for the dinosaur Quakers. And then, okay, I can't read these. I got blank canvas, French vanilla mistake, another French vanilla mistake. Oh my gosh, this might be the perfect fabric for doing this on. That's a definite possibility. I will have to keep those together. I got the Dreaming, and I got this because I have the Karen Hallion Doctor Who and the Black Needle Society Doctor Who patterns, and I got thinking that would be a great background for those Doctor Who patterns. And just in case that wasn't good enough, I also got this sparkly Doctor Who. This is the Deep. So I may do this one with the Doctor Who's. So with the Black Needle Society timey-wimey wibbly wobbly sampler, it's 3 colors, and they stitched it in Bestitched Me Silks, but I found some Silks for You silks from my Christmas packages that matched fairly closely to what the Be Stitched Me silks are. So I'm going to use the Silks for You stitches on mine. And one of those two fabrics. Okay, the other thing I got was, this was at the grocery store, so I grabbed it. And there's another floss tuber that's already done a flip through. But if you would like, there is the first page of ornaments. There is the next page of ornaments. There is the third page of ornaments. If I'm going too fast, pause the video. There's the next one. I like how there was a Kwanzaa ornament in that one. The festive tree. Kind of like that house one. The house one's called Home for the Holidays, and it's designed by the Cozy DH. Timeless Traditions. And I will say that this bee ornament absolutely jumped out at me when I was going through, and you'll see that's the one I flagged as the one I'm absolutely going to stitch out of this ornament, out of this magazine. Winter Wonderland. There's some pretty cool ones there too. That fox is kind of cute. They have a Sparkling Snowflake Trio, which is a trio of biscornues, however you say those. The snowman. QB snowman. So we have the QB snowman. O Tannenbaum. Upstairs in my project bags, I have an O Tannenbaum done in Hardanger. That's all kitted up, and I think I may have actually thought about putting stitches in. I don't know if I actually did. North Pole Pals, which could be really cute gift tags. Light in the Darkness. A Gift of Gingerbread. And yes, that is stitched. Although you could just do that on perforated paper and mount it on a piece of gingham. Home with Yule. And that is all the patterns. So there, you've got a flip through. Okay. That took an hour. So, what's been happening in true crime? I'm going to shift a little bit here. So, those of you who were only here for the stitching, bye, see you next month. Those of you who are wanting to know what in the world has been happening in true crime in Utah. Well, the biggest thing that happened in September and October in true crime in Utah was Charlie Kirk. And I am not going to talk about it. There's enough people talking about it. You want to hear about it? Go hear about it. There's a lot of people talking about it, a lot of people discussing it. Let's just say that the person that is currently arrested for it is a very confused teenager. And, well, I don't remember for sure if he's an adult or still a teenager. But it's a very confused young person. However, in the cases that I am interested in, Catherine Restelli pled guilty to conspiring to kill her husband. So if you'll remember, Matthew Restelli is the victim, and his wife Catherine left California, took their kids while he was at work, went home to her mother's, and then started texting him saying, "Oh, I want to come home, come get me." This is after she consulted a divorce attorney who told her, "You kidnapped the kids, you left California, you took the children with you. This is not a good look for you, honey. This is not going to go in your favor." So she had, before she left, she had put a tracker on his vehicle. So there is some question as to whether she knew ahead of time that she was going to entice him to come back to Utah, or if she just wanted to know where he was when she left. But Catherine convinced Matthew to come up to Salt Lake, and will come up to American Fork, which is just south of Salt Lake. And when he got to the house, he opened the front door, took off his shoes, walked into the house, and was shot by his brother-in-law. Kevin Ellis and Tracy Grist are Catherine's relatives. Kevin was the shooter, and Tracy helped plan it. But Catherine has taken a plea deal, and on October 15th, she was sentenced to 20 to life for Matthew's unaliving, and then she got 5 to life for felony discharge of a firearm. Two different sentences. She was not the person with the firearm in hand. However, because it is a conspiracy, anything Kevin did, she can be held liable for. So next spring, maybe, depending on how the system goes, we will have trials for Tracy and Kevin, unless they take plea deals as well. And Catherine, however, is out of the picture. We thought we were done with Chad Daybell. Guys, I honestly thought we were done with Chad Daybell. However, Chad has been giving letters to his daughter, Emma, who's been publishing them on the internet. And I'm not going to read them to you. If you want to go look for them, may I suggest going to I've gone blank on his name. Mike is the guy who does it. He is an expert in cults and used to work for police. He's a former police detective who helped bring down the Zion Society cult, and he's a specialist in cult-related crime. And he has been evaluating the letters from Chad as they come out and showing exactly the type of manipulative language that Chad is using, how it's not his fault. It's not his fault. And how he does not mention Lori in any way, shape, or form in any of the letters. You know, sorry, I'm going to look that up real quick for you. I'll put the link to his channel down below. But, Profiling Evil. So Mike's channel is called Profiling Evil. If you don't want to watch him on YouTube, he also does a podcast that is his YouTube channel in podcast form. But it's Mike at Profiling Evil, and he's done a really good job of breaking down the letters from Chad. And he has AI read them just because he wants it to be a neutral tone. And he says if he read them, he'd be too tempted to put inflections in certain places. So he wanted people to just hear them with a neutral tone. So if you are really against AI, honestly, I think this is probably one of the good uses of AI is let's read this with a completely neutral tone. Nicholas Rossi. Nicholas Rossi has had both of his rape trials in Utah. And in both cases he was found guilty of SA against two different women, one in Utah County, one in Salt Lake County. He got 5 to life in the Salt Lake County. He has been found guilty of the Utah County charges, but has not been sentenced on those yet. So if you'll remember, Nicholas Rossi was born in Rhode Island. He was born as Nicholas Alaverdian, and he was posing as a advocate for foster children and talking about all the abuses that he suffered in the system. And he was going to be adopted by a state legislator until somebody finally got to the legislator and said, no. All the abuses that he claims happened to him, no, he's the person perpetrating those abuses on other kids. And the legislator feels like he dodged a bullet. Nicholas was also involved in a case in a Midwest. I've got it in my notes elsewhere, but he was involved in a case where he SA'd a woman in a college dormitory hallway, and he was convicted of that. And after that, he got like minimal jail time, not next to nothing on that. But during the investigation in the cases of Utah, they found that he had returned to the East Coast and had faked his death because he was being pursued by the FBI on credit card fraud charges. And he was living in the UK under the name Arthur Knight. And Dateline and 48 Hours. Anyway, a couple different shows were done on, and a couple true crime documentaries have done on the Arthur Knight Nicholas Rossi thing. And because he was living in the UK under the name Arthur Knight and claiming that, there's no way he was Nicholas Rossi. And when he first came to Utah, he kept telling the court, no, my name is Arthur Knight. My name is Arthur Knight. And when the DNA finally proved, no, you're Nicholas Rossi, he finally admitted that, I am Nicholas Rossi, but I want to be called Nicholas Alaverdian because I don't like the Rossi name. And he had all these stories about why he shouldn't be called Nicholas Rossi. And it's like, the court paperwork's filed under Rossi. You're going to be called Rossi. So there was some fuss and fidget about that, but he was convicted in both of his SA cases, and will be doing 5 to life in the Salt Lake County case, and not quite sure when the Utah County case is going to be sentenced, but I will find out. And then the other big case that we were following, Kouri Richins. Kouri Richins wrote a children's book about dealing with grief after the death of her husband. Her husband died of a fentanyl overdose and had enough fentanyl in his stomach that not only killed him, it could have killed at least 3 or 4 other people as well. Well, Kouri's attorneys have asked that Kouri be released on bail and that the entire case be reevaluated, because following the changing of sentencing for dealing fentanyl in Utah that occurred in May 2025, the dealer who originally confessed to selling her fentanyl changed his story and said, no, what wasn't fentanyl. I did not touch fentanyl. Fentanyl has this big, huge sentence over here. I sold her OxyContin. And I don't know where she got the fentanyl, but I sold Oxy to her. And you listen to people reading the recanting from the court documents. It is so clear he's just trying to save his butt because of the change of sentencing the guidelines for fentanyl. So he's claiming, oh, no, it wasn't fentanyl. It wasn't fentanyl. Fentanyl has this huge sentence. I was selling Oxy. Oxy doesn't have this big sentence like fentanyl does. And the defense is saying, well, he's an unreliable witness. You can't prove that Kouri ever had fentanyl. I'm like, she wrote it down in her journal. We don't even need to prove that she got it. She said she did it. So defense is also fighting to keep the journal out. They were claiming that it was fruit of the poison tree, that they didn't have a warrant for it. But prosecution pretty much proved that they may not have had a warrant at the time they seized it, but they got a retroactive warrant and it would have been found anyway. So, they didn't have a warrant for papers at the time they went through the house looking for drug paraphernalia. They got a separate warrant for papers before they removed it out of the house. So, it's one of those cases that if the police are searching your house and they have a warrant for crime ABC, but they see evidence of crime XYZ, and they then stay in the house while they're requesting a warrant for XYZ, they still saw XYZ. They didn't take XYZ out of the house until they had the warrant for it. Yes, they came in on the warrant of ABC, but XYZ was going to be found. So, it'll be interesting. Her trial will be in February, so we'll see how that goes. The other one that we have coming up is in December. Yeah, Christmas holiday. We have the case of the lady who unalived her National Guard husband, who they have found the carrier that she told her paramour that she put his body in. They've found half of the carrier. They found blood in the carrier that matched him, but they still haven't found the body. And so that's going to be interesting. And that's the one where her parents were actively cleaning up the crime scene at the time the police found her. It's like, really? Really? There are things I will do for my kids. Cleaning up after unaliving the spouse you're in the process of divorcing. is not on my list of things that I would do for my kids. So anyway, that is the cases I'm following here in Utah. And there are a couple others that are fairly interesting in Utah and Idaho, but I haven't had, life happens, people. I have not had enough time to really research those enough to talk about them. So we won't go into those yet. Maybe next month. Anyway, Thanksgiving has already occurred for our Canadian friends. Thanksgiving's coming up for our U.S. friends. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to be getting on a plane and then driving home. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up now and talk to everybody later.